All right. Hi everyone. Welcome. Hoping that you're doing well. Welcome to the Skills for Managing Test Anxiety. Um, my name is Melissa Ann Cobbler. I'll get into a little bit more about who I am, but I am joined by my awesome colleague, Lauren Weber, the ELWA in the Faculty of Engineering. Hey, Lauren.
Great. Hey, Mel, and hi, everyone. Thanks for joining.
So we're just going to move forward and we're just going to ask you guys to take a moment to settle in, right? That could mean, getting a bottle of water, some snacks, being in some comfy clothes, sitting somewhere that, is nice and snuggly, whatever it is. Just, get yourself settled, have a pen and paper near you for sure, because we're going to ask that none of the slides are screenshot. So if you have a pen and paper or notepad, also bring that out as well.
Great.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. So as Lauren was mentioning earlier, we're both wellness advisors, respectively in the Faculty of Science and in the Faculty of Engineering. However, we work with the Student Wellness Hub, and our aim is really to support students as best as possible with whatever wellness needs and concerns that you have. So just wanted to add that on.
That's perfect. And in terms of today's workshop goals, it is for you all to acquire the skills to better manage test anxiety and feel comfortable using these skills whenever needed to reduce the levels of stress that you experience during, before, after an exam or a test. And by the end of today, you all will hopefully be able to identify the signs of test anxiety, apply techniques to manage test anxiety, identify steps that you can take, again, before, during, and after tests to reduce the anxiety that you all experience.
Amazing. Thanks for that, Lauren. So as we're moving forward, Lauren and I just want to ensure you that we're going to do our best to maintain a virtual safer space. Of course, we know that you're going to be viewing this on your own time, but we also ask you, wherever you are in your home or whatever space that you're in, to make sure that it's one where you just feel comfortable in order to really engage with the workshop today. We know that everyone comes from diverse backgrounds, therefore having diverse learning processes and thoughts. And our aim is really to have you all come into the space, to not be judgmental with yourself, importantly, to use respectful and inclusive language. We always say this to every student at every workshop. And we're going to ask you to, free up your space of any distractions. So therefore, again, you could just fully engage in this workshop. If you have any questions for us, we will definitely be able to share our information after the workshop, and we ask you to please reach out if need be. So before we get into the nature of test anxiety, I just want to let all our viewers know that myself and Lauren will be turning off our camera, so therefore we could fully engage in the material. But again, at the end of the workshop, we will come back on to say thank you and wish you guys well. Okay. So the nature of test anxiety. I'm sure many of you as students have asked, what is this exactly? What's the difference between anxiety and then test anxiety, right? There's some overlaps, absolutely, but there's also some distinctions. So just thinking of this word anxiety, give yourself a few seconds to, reflect on what the definition might be. Okay. So just to really think about anxiety means understanding the feelings of worry, nervousness, or panic in relation to experiences with uncertain outcomes, right? So there's some kind of perceived, maybe, negative outcome that you're thinking about. And that's where the anxiety could really, come up in your body and in your thoughts. When it comes to test anxiety, however, test anxiety is really specific to, performance, right? So the worry and the nervousness and distress that you may be feeling is really linked to before or during an exam. It's linked to the actual exam itself. So this is a way that we could really look at the difference between overall anxiety in our daily lives, but test anxiety in concern to academics or other exams that we obviously want to get a great grade on. Furthering our explanation around test anxiety could be manifested in different ways that, as you all could see here, are emotional. It could be cognitive, behavioral, or physiological. So really showing up in your bodies. So some of the potential signs of test anxiety definitely will be shared in the next slide. But some of the questions that we will want to throw out to you as students is really to ask, what emotions or feelings might you experience when you're, thinking about a test or when you're experiencing test anxiety? What are some of the thoughts that come to your mind? What behaviors might you be engaging in right before a test or even during or after a test? And what are some physical symptoms that may come up in you when, you are feeling quite anxious?
Great. Going off on some of those questions, and in terms of really recognizing signs of test anxiety that may come up for you all, really kind of we broke it down into categories to kind of take a look in terms of how we can identify and how we can recognize our own signs and your own signs of test anxiety when they do come up. So we split them up into 4 categories, as Mel had mentioned, in terms of the emotional. So that's the anxiety, the stress, the overall fear and worry that we experience during exam time. Then we have the cognitive, which is the fear of failure, difficulty concentrating or making decisions. We may become forgetful. We may have that mental disorganization or brain fog, and our attention is impacted as a result. Then we have the behavioral category, which is the lack of motivation that we experience as a result of stress. We feel that we need to miss class because we just have to catch up in some way. And we find ourselves maybe even procrastinating. The physiological category that we may experience are tightening of our muscles throughout our body. So those physical symptoms, cold or sweaty hands, headaches, back or neck problems, sleep disturbances, stomach ache or pain, fatigue, so that exhaustion, rapid breathing or pounding heart, trembling at times, as well as dry mouth. I want you guys to think about how you currently cope before, during, or after a test or exam. Either what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and to kind of take a moment to think about that. Perhaps maybe mark it down so that we can kind of get to that and see how we can address it and improve it for your overall success. What's interesting to know as well is that the experiences of test anxiety affect about 1/3 of university students. And with the rise in testing requirements in schools, the number of students reporting test anxiety is simply expected to increase as well. So to know that there's so many students that are experiencing these levels of anxiety during this time. Now we're going to focus on the before a test. So given that the test can be both trait and state related, we can manage it at multiple points. We're going to go over some techniques for helping you manage before a test or exam. So leading up to that test, how time management, nutrition, sleep, leisure play a significant role in the preparation and levels of stress being reduced if we engage in some of these techniques. So we're really going to take a look at just that.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Lauren. So we are going to look at time management, and I'm going to tell all of you time is not always my friend, but when I manage my time carefully, it absolutely can become a really great support in my life. So, I mean, listen, as students, as individuals, time management is a huge factor when it comes to studying for an exam, whether you're writing an essay, or of course, there's anything in your life that is attached to a deadline. So one of the first steps in ensuring you're preparing for a test or an exam is managing your time wisely, of course, and also doing your best to organize your study and prep schedule. So therefore, you kind of could lay out exactly what it is that you need to get into. So, prioritizing task in order of importance, is really, really important. So we're going to look over here at this kind of ABC model that really allows us to figure out what we must do, what we should do, but also allows us to figure out like what we want to do and how we can maybe put that to the side for the time being. So to prioritize our task in terms of their importance and deadline, A being, again, the highest priority, and C being the lowest priority. So if you can imagine all the tasks that you need to do either this week or next, take out your notepad, take out your pen, write them down, put ABC, maybe down in a column, and let's just, focus those tasks in concern to priority. So your A priorities will be those that are both critical and urgent. So tasks that you need to do today, this week, in the next, 2 days, but absolutely required tasks. Your B priorities will be those tasks that are either critical or urgent, but not both. So what we must do based, let's say, on a deadline. If you have an exam this coming Friday, but you have a deadline for something next Friday, maybe, obviously, whatever it is that's due this Friday, you really need to get to. Your C priorities will be those that are neither critical nor urgent, but that are tasks that you would like to get to be done nonetheless. So, I mean, think of laundry, for instance, right? Come the end of the semester, we know that apartments and homes may not look the tidiest, and you want to make it spick and span, but maybe you need to do that once you study for the exams, do the exams, and are able to move forward. So really being aware of which task you should hold the highest priority and the need to be completed with greater urgency than others could really help you manage your time. Importantly, it could help you just decrease the stress that comes with all the study and prep that all of us would need to do before a test. And I would also suggest that if you have a study space that you feel comfortable, being at, that helps you focus and concentrate, maybe put some Post-it notes, whether on your laptop or Even online, there's some post-it notes that you could write into to really kind of help you, again, focus on those priorities. So now moving forward, once your study tasks are prioritized, you could try to block out some time, right, to get to them. And that really means that you could organize a schedule, again, for whatever it is that you need to get to. We would say at the beginning of the week, look at your a list of tasks and priorities, look at your calendar, and divide your calendar into time blocks. Estimate the amount of time each task will take to complete and fill them into the blocks. So I would also say, put in buffer times in extra room in case something comes up that's unexpected. Definitely schedule your breaks, whether that's taking a walk, getting something to eat, maybe watching, a half an hour like film or whatnot on Netflix. Schedule all of that, so therefore you get a little bit of distance from just studying all the time. And what helps with these time blocks is that it provides you with a sense of control, first and foremost, over your workload. It helps you build a routine for yourself. And it really reduces the number of choices you need to make in a given moment, right? You're not all over the place when it comes to prioritizing your study time or any of the tasks that you need to get to. I would also add here that, in addition to paper and pencil calendars, there's a lot of great apps, and I think students nowadays are using apps. I would probably get to the paper and the pen, but these are some fantastic apps that you could look into. You could easily put on your Android or your iPhone to really kind of help you just keep your time focused. So there is Sana, Microsoft To Do, Todoist, Trello, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And another technique that a lot of students have spoken to both Lauren and I about is the Pomodoro technique, which allows you to set a timer. You could work, if 25 minutes is enough for you, you could work for 25 minutes and then add on a 5 or 10 minute break. I know for myself, when I was a student, I definitely would have to at least study for a good hour, maybe even an hour and a half. And then I would take maybe a good 25 minutes to a half an hour of a break and get back into it. So this really, again, helps you with your study management, gives you a little bit of a break and a little bit of a distance, and allows your brain just to feel more energized and fresh when you're able, or when you're wanting to get back into studying again.
Great. So now that we've covered a little bit or quite a bit in terms of time management and how useful and important it is, we'll also look at nutrition, and which is a very important aspect in terms of making time for self-care. So being mindful of what you're eating, making sure you're sleeping, and really blocking out times for leisure activities as we're preparing for an exam or upcoming test. Doing this will really help you work more efficiently in preparation of tests, whereas not caring for yourself can impact your anxiety. So we're really looking at making sure that we are staying hydrated throughout the day. Whether it is making sure that you have a tall glass of water beside your computers throughout the day and refilling that, and also trying to eat some healthy snacks, so fruits, vegetables, and so on. And even having them handy and beside your computer so that at least you're keeping fueled throughout the day. Even nuts, granola bars, those are good and easy snacks to have to keep your brain feeling healthy and your body's feeling good in preparation for exams. We also added here the Supercook and Cookspiration which are apps that are available for you guys to help find recipes depending on what you have in your kitchen, really making it easier for you to throw together meals without having to buy more. So especially when you feel like you don't have time with the work that you have to do, these apps can be really helpful in terms of making things in your lives a little bit easier. Sleep. So in addition to eating well and focusing on our time management, sleep is so important when it comes to dealing with anxiety, specific to tests and exams. So as a reminder, I'm sure those of you watching are aware of all of these or some of these, but really to just keep it in mind as you're preparing is to avoid stimulants such as caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol too close to bedtime. So while alcohol is well known to speed the onset of sleep, it also disrupts sleep in the second half as the body begins to metabolize the alcohol, causing arousal, which we obviously don't want. Exercise can promote good sleep. So vigorous exercise should be taken in the morning or late afternoon, and a relaxing exercise like yoga, Pilates, even stretching can be done before bed to help initiate a restful night's sleep. A lot of people find it helpful, kind of maybe about an hour before heading to bed, to just take 5-10 minutes to kind of stretch your body a little bit, especially as we find ourselves really sitting potentially in an uncomfortable chair or couch throughout the day, studying or even being in classes can really impact our body and the tightness in our muscles. So just stretching can actually go a long way in terms of impacting our overall sleep and sleep patterns. Food can also be disruptive right before sleep. So we'd recommend to stay away from larger meals super close to bedtime or snacking too much. So dietary changes can also cause sleep problems. So if someone is struggling with a sleep issue, it wouldn't be the best idea to start experimenting with spicy dishes for the first time. Kind of keep a normal eating regime for you the night before the test to just make sure that nothing is impacted out of the blue, furthering along the anxiety that you're experiencing. Ensure that you guys are getting adequate exposure to natural light. This is particularly important for all of you right now as it's getting darker earlier on and we're cooped up at home. Really try to do your best to open up a window, turn on the lights, opening up your blinds, maybe taking a walk around the block, or even just stepping outside to get that fresh air, how important it is for our overall well-being and focus. Because kind of sitting in the darkness or in a space where there's not much light does end up impacting our overall sleep and well-being. Establishing a regular, relaxing bedtime routine. I know it's often very difficult during exam and test time. As we're preparing, we often are working tirelessly and feeling like there's just not enough time in the day to get everything that we need done. But we can't stress it enough how important sleep is and the amount of time we get to actually rest in order for our bodies and our minds to feel clear and fueled and productive. And associate your bed with sleep. So as tempting as it may be now that we're all home to be studying and doing our work in bed, you really want to try to separate that. Find a space that is away from your bed, that's separate, where you can be productive, that is a space devoted to your work, your school, your preparation, and so on, that allows you to be a little bit more organized. And keep your bed really for and solely for sleep. So although we touched a little bit on nutrition and sleep, I do want to acknowledge that self-care goes beyond nutrition and sleep. And self-care actually covers a whole range of areas. And when caring for your wellness in anticipation for a test or a stressful situation overall, it's so important to make time for the activities that you guys all enjoy. So I want you to think about some activities that you think can help with your test anxiety. We spend so much time fixating on the stressors related to tests that are upcoming and exams and not feeling prepared, and how this will impact our grades and GPA. But I'd like you guys to take a moment to really think about activities that you enjoy and find one. Think about one that you can try implementing during this time to alleviate some of that stress, to bring some calmness, to bring some fulfillment, to bring some happiness into your life as a way to keep you guys motivated and to reduce some of that anxiety.
Amazing. Thanks so much for that, Lauren. So now that, we've gone through looking at time management, getting our bodies nourished, resting, all the amazing ways in which we could take care of ourselves outside of our academics. Let's look at, what the night before would look like for us just before that exam. So as Lauren, mentioned eloquently before, you got to do something enjoyable. You got to give yourself a little bit of space. You got to give yourself a break and a little distance from the studying by, reaching out to a friend, going for a walk, maybe writing something or painting. Preparing your materials. We're also going to say that that's going to be a great way to alleviate your stress and anxiety on the day of your exam, because most students, when I'm saying most, all students are, studying from home. If you have your spot that you could really get into your exams or what have you, put out your pen, your paper. If you live with other individuals in your home, I would also suggest, speak to them, let them know between this time and that time, I will be doing my exam. So therefore, not a lot of people are on the YouTube or watching a video to bog down the internet, so you don't have any issues with doing that exam online. Get your snacks together, get some water, right? Do everything that you can in order for that transition to be a smooth one. Absolutely avoid any alcohol, any stimulants the night before. Absolutely stay clear of any foods, spicy foods, unfamiliar foods, anything that you're not sure of, and that could upset your stomach. Maybe eat something a little light the night before and definitely on the morning of. So therefore, of course, you're not feeling hungry, but you're not feeling like overfull either. And importantly, please try and get a good night's rest. We're hearing from a lot of students, you're getting in your 5 and 6 hours. That's okay, but really let's bump it up to 7 or 8 if we can. All right, really get a good sound sleep. So again, you could feel alert on the day of that exam. And we also wanted to, add this great quote here that, remind yourself of how your exam fits into the wider context of your life, but really and truly at that moment is also a small piece of your life, right? There's so much more to you than just your academics. So keep that in mind as you're moving forward. So now that we've made it to the test, you've prepared in every way possible. You've done everything that you need to do. We're going to go over a few examples of what you could do during the test, right? How you could keep yourself calm intentionally during this test. And that would be through breathing exercises, or what we're going to show you, which is a progressive muscle relaxation technique. So let's first start off with a breathing exercise. I'm sure that when you've been stressed or anxious, friends, family, people have said, hey, just take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Just, stay calm. And that's great in the moment. But what's even better is when you're intentional about your breathing, right? You're actually focusing on your breathing in a way that really allows your, nervous system to become really calm and at ease. So I want us to go through some of these steps so you could really start to practice and really be, again, more intentional with your breath. I know you can't see Lauren and I right now, but what I'm going to ask you all to do is put one hand by your lower belly and put another hand on top of your heart, nice and firm, and we're going to go through these steps together. So take a slow breath in through your nose. And breathe into your lower belly for about 4 seconds. And as you breathe in through your nose, what you're going to feel is your lower belly really just expanding. So allow the rhythm of your lower belly to do that. I don't know why I'm tripping up all my words, everyone, but you know what I'm trying to say. So let's do that again. Let's take a slow breath in through our nose. Breathe into our lower belly for about 4 seconds. Let's hold our breath here for 2. And then let's exhale slowly. Counting to 6 seconds. It may take a little bit of time to really get comfortable with doing that, but I could assure you that once you do, you'll feel definitely a difference. And I would really say, even if you're sitting at your desk, at home, or wherever you are, and you're feeling some, tension come up in you, put your hand, right? No one's going to see you online. Put your hand by your lower belly and just breathe in for 4, hold it for 2, and exhale for 6. And I really feel that your body will start to feel a little bit more relaxed.
Oh, that was great. I almost feel like I really needed that.
Yeah, so did I actually. I wanted to do it again, but I was like, we got to get through this, but yes.
So on that note, in terms of kind of practicing breathing exercises and how useful it can be really at any point throughout the day, but really specifically in terms of reducing that anxiety and that tightness in the chest that we feel during this test and exam time. We're going to look at this exercise and really a grounding exercise in terms of the 5 senses. And we're going to sync our breathing with that. So we're going to take a look at the grounding practice, which is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. So what I'd like you guys to do is to take in the details of your surroundings using each of your senses. So really trying to notice the small details that your mind would usually tune out, such as distance, sounds, or just an ordinary object. And really taking a moment wherever you are to take a look around you that's in front of you, beside you, or even out your window if you guys are sitting beside a window. Mm-hmm. And just noticing some of those small details around you as a way to just take a moment, regroup, and then coming back to the space, to the task at hand. So really noticing and finding those small details, purposefully, intentionally, taking in the details of those surroundings, using each of your 5 senses, be it touch, be it smell, whatever feels right for you. So as we come back to that space, I want you guys to think about this grounding exercise and being able to use it really at any point. We're going to go on to the next exercise, which is another strategy that can be really helpful to manage test anxiety during a test specifically. And this is progressive muscle relaxation. Progressive muscle relaxation is a strategy used to decrease physical stress by tensing and then relaxing each muscle group in your body. And according to research, actually, it's been found to be one of the most effective techniques for decreasing the stress response in the moment. So we're going to try it out together. We're going to take our hands, have them kind of either beside you, in front of you, whatever feels most comfortable for you. Either closing your eyes slowly, gently, maybe even gazing down directly at the floor in front of you if you're more comfortable with that. And just turning your attention to your hands that are beside you or in front of you. Tightening your fists as much as you can. We're going to hold that for a couple of seconds. Noticing the sensations as we're holding tight, tight, tight. And letting go of that tension. So opening up your hands. So I'd like you guys to kind of take a moment in terms of how that felt for you. This is something that can be useful to practice actually like 3 times even. So really kind of building up that tension and releasing that can actually help with our breath, but also with the tension that we have built up in the body in that moment. So really just kind of taking that attention and turning that attention to our hands, to our bodies. And we can actually use this progressive muscle relaxation exercise with different parts of our bodies as well. So just to really keep that in mind.
Great, Lauren. You know, all the time that I do that with just my fist, I don't always feel something, but once I start really thinking of my arms and my neck and my shoulders, that exercise is so fantastic. So thank you for walking us through that actually.
I feel the same way. I'm glad you felt that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, everyone, we're now at the end of the exam. You did it. You finished. It's done, right? And let's talk about what's next once we complete the exam. So we definitely want to highlight here, self-compassion is so important. And again, come back to the essence of self-care. Because really it's important to keep your mind positive as best as you can, of course, post-test. So self-compassion, right? When it comes to finishing a test, I've been there, you've probably been there, Lauren. I'm sure many students have been there where you're like, okay, I don't know how I did. I think I did okay. Maybe I didn't do so well. There's all these ruminating thoughts that really come to you, right? You may feel some relief. You may feel a little bit more anxious, who knows? But what we really want to, again, stress is the fact that negative self-talk really could be pretty harmful actually to, your own thoughts, your own progress in your actual course, right? The result of having such negative talk is that it can affect your mood and therefore your behavior, right? So keep in mind that the ways in which you think can impact not only your cognitive thoughts, as Lauren mentioned earlier, and some of the signs that come from that, but also some of your physical responses, right? So dry mouth or upset stomach, what have you. So doing our best to be tender with ourselves, to say, I did my best, I believe that I did my best, and to really counter those negative, thoughts definitely could help you post-exam. So now I want us to challenge that negative self-talk, right? Because some students may be like, okay, well, what do you mean, Melissa? how do I, get those good thoughts coming through? And what we're going to say is, or an example, a better example is to think of a friend, think of somebody who you're really close to, who either came out of a test, or if you want to add a real life situation, came out of an interview, for instance, and they're really just not sure how they did. They're like, I'm a little worried. I think I could have done better. What would you say to that friend? Right? How would you comfort them? How would you support them? And we believe that each and every one of you who's viewing this, you know exactly what to say to that friend who also is feeling a little stressed. So with that being in mind, we want you to recognize and challenge those negative thoughts with useful thoughts, of course, and really being realistic about what took place. We're in a pandemic, you're doing your best, you're learning online, you're disconnected from maybe family and friends. There's a lot of adjustments that as students you've had to go through. So really, we want you to come back to feeling tender and gentle with yourself during this time.
So taking a look at self-care, which I think is such an important one that we often lose touch of, lose sight of, especially during exam time and test time. So in order to really help ease with the anxiety that you may feel after a test, we may want to consider coming back to your self-care strategies and bringing back those things that you enjoy. So just like we spoke about a little bit earlier, whether it be exercise, connecting with friends, cooking, baking, listening to music, playing music, reading, journaling, painting, drawing, just engaging in a fun activity. We all need to give ourselves that break and a way for us to just re-engage and connect with something that's meaningful and matters to us, and how it really impacts the physical, emotional, social, physiological aspects of ourselves and our lives. So really take a moment to recognize that, to remember that, and to give yourselves that break that you all need and deserve that we often neglect and forget about. So to take a moment and make sure that you guys think about that, even if it is for 30 minutes or an hour, or if you're really feeling brave and comfortable, taking an afternoon, an evening, a morning to engage in that. Anything counts and anything will help. So today we talked about what you can do before. So the time management, nutrition, sleep, leisure activities that you guys can engage in and prepare for to really help with that anxiety and preparation leading up to the test. We also looked at the during, what you guys can do in terms of breathing exercises, grounding exercises, progressive muscle relaxation. So really during that moment of stress, how we can engage in our breath in order to calm ourselves, to clear our minds, and to continue forward with the exam and test at hand. And now we also covered the after the exam. So you guys did it, you made it. And looking at really being compassionate, kind with ourselves, engaging in some self-care strategies that are super important. Now what we want you to do is to make a plan. How are you guys going to change your study habits a little bit to make things a little bit easier and better for yourselves overall? What you may do the evening before or the morning of your next exam. We're going to invite you to choose one strategy from each of the 3 categories that you see here on the screen in front of you to commit to doing before, during, and after your next test. So I'd like you guys to just take a moment, either to think about it or just to jot it down somewhere that you can have it in front of you. Be it if you have a place that you kind of jot down all your ideas, be it on your phone, your computer, on a Post-it note, on a board maybe beside your computers, to really jot down what activity for each category you would like to reflect on, to commit to. So just to take a moment and to think about that. This workshop and the strategies provided are related to managing your wellness for test anxiety. So for additional resources related to test anxiety, we want you guys to check out some of the resources that are listed right here. So Teaching and Learning Services, which offers many skills, development opportunities, and just overall success strategies that can really help with your remote situation. It's a really, really good tool during your experience as a student. So aside from just the test and exam anxiety and preparation, there's also other resources that they can provide through their website by checking out mcgill.ca/TLS. There's also the Office for Students with Disabilities, which supports the inclusion of our diverse learners. So you don't have to be registered with the Office for Students with Disabilities to access the resources available, but they have some really good tools as well as workshops that are available to all of you to help manage even your time, organization, and just overall preparation when it comes to test and exam time. So you guys can take a look again at the mcgill.ca/OSD. You can also make an appointment with an ELWA like ourselves or an access advisor to explore feelings of anxiety or stress, trouble with motivation, concentration, to really discuss different tools and strategies that can help benefit your learning experience. So there's local wellness advisors now in all designated areas. So you'd be able to book an appointment directly online to have that one-on-one discussion, assessment, and support. On top of that, there's also many apps that are available that you guys have access to that you can download on your computers or on your phones, really to help with practicing mindfulness, meditation, and really getting in touch with our breath, which we often lose sight of. So there's Headspace, Calm, Simple Habit, to name a few. We also have many resources available online that you can access for free that are audio-led and pre-recorded on the Student Wellness Hub website. And there's also websites for Sleep Calculator and Sleepy Time if you guys are interested in terms of tracking your sleep pattern and making sure you get on a bit of a healthier sleep routine.
Amazing. So we've come to the end, Lauren. Thank you so much for us doing this workshop together.
Yes. We made it.
You know, yeah, absolutely. and this is, and I love the fact that you said that, Lauren, because you made it as well, right? You came to the end with us. We're here. We've gone through all the steps around how to manage your anxiety. And I'm sure that all of you know you have a clear path of what to do in order to prep for studying. So if there's any questions, as Lauren mentioned earlier, reach out to your designated ELWA. Please do not hesitate to ask us, I'm having some difficulty in this area. How could you best support me? And we definitely will do our best to, offer any resources and information. And just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. We know that it is a busy time of year. It is at the end of the semester. It is finals, but also the holidays are coming up. There's going to be a start to a new year. We wish you, all the best with your exams and a really easy and restful holiday season and great start to the new year.